First of all, I want to ask for a big round of applause for the team that is organizing this conference. I don't think you have any idea how much stress it is to organize a conference of that scale with that many people in that many locations across the world. Now, I think for the 4th time, and I couldn't be more proud for all the colleagues that are working on this and all the staff here and the sponsors. So let's take a quick round of applause for them. Good, and I've been really, really looking forward to the opportunity having Boyan here. Actually, Boyan and I are speaking at least once a month, I would say, about platform engineering, the latest learnings. And for me personally, I do not think that there is any non-tech first organization, if you allow me the observation, that is further advanced and has a better grip on platforming than SIXT. So they're not only great at renting out cars, they're really a fantastic example of platform engineering well done. And I want to use those next 30 minutes to grill you a little bit to see the good, bad, and the ugly, and really look at how you've nailed the past. And I think what's more important is how to nail the future, because we're at this tipping point where now and very soon we'll all be asked to do a shit ton of stuff in the AI field, whether we want this or not. So you won't be able to escape. And I think you have a really interesting way of approaching this. So Boyan, thank you very, very much for being here. Maybe you can start giving us sort of a quick introduction. How did you get into platform engineering? What happened?
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Let's start with that. Great turn-up, great event. Personally, maybe let's start there. The first touches I had with what we call today platform engineering was actually here in London many years ago, 2013, 14. I was working as part of a company called Halo. There we had an incredibly powerful platform team, and this is for the first time when I saw what that can do to engineering productivity and to the business as a whole. At SIXT, we got there maybe in a different way. When I joined, we had quite a few issues. We were shipping software once or twice a month. And what you need to know about the company is the way we think about ourselves, although we are not tech first, we do think ourselves as a very much tech company with car rental attached. That's also what our founder, the Eric SIXT, would say. And the reason for it is 95% of our software is built in-house. So in many cases, we've probably built things that we shouldn't have and we should have bought, but that's how things grew organically. And when I found myself there, we had the challenge of how do we ship more, because we had to basically do and shape the best experience for our customers. The company is growing, we're penetrating new markets. Customers in new markets, they have different expectations, there are different regulations, there are different compliance topics, especially around our business. And we have to answer that. That's from one side. On the other side, we also want to power our internal teams with the best software and technology that we can put forward so they can do their job in a more efficient way. And we were failing at that.
800 developers at the moment.
Right now we are 800. Back in the day we were smaller. And when we were looking at how to change things, how to solve some of those problems, it wasn't like, hey, we do platform engineering and it's going to go great. We took a lot of decisions, how we're going to build software, how we want to go from this big monolith we had, which was creating a lot of issues, to service-oriented architecture where we can have a lot of teams iterating in parallel instead of stepping on each other's toes. And what languages we're going to use, a bunch of really critical decisions. And one of those decisions was, and that's very specific to SIXT, I have to say, if we're going to move so many things to the left, meaning we want to go service-oriented architecture, we want our teams, at the point we had so many silos as well, that's what's part of the problem of getting software from code to production. Many teams and organizations involved, we wanted to merge all of that. How do we do that? And we wanted to basically shift a lot of it left. You build it, you run it, kind of a setup. Mm-hmm. But then with that, we quickly realized we do this, suddenly we have a very complicated business, a lot of different requirements that each engineer has to wrap his head around to understand the business, to understand how to build that stuff. And on top, he has to build, maintain, get CI/CD pipelines in. He has to figure out how to monitor this thing now. It's just not gonna, especially if they have to build also their own infrastructure, right? That would be nuts. So we looked at abstracting this layer as a way to simplify all of this. And while we shift the responsibility, we were thinking if we can build an abstraction, if we can build those tools that help in the day-to-day and make it seamless, then we can keep our, in the end, product engineering teams focused on the business. And that's how we started. And the other thing is execution. We never look back.
Good. Yeah, and I think that's really like the normal evolution, right? We're saying the shift left, we're giving access for everybody. We are realizing, my God, what have we done? How do we get out of this now? And that's very often where, the organization is so exhausted already that they're not taking the next step. And the next step is thinking about all of those things and what Gregor, wherever he is at the moment, would call harmonization, what I would call standardization, really saying, okay, now we have to take a step back, and if we want to shift left, we can only do this if we have a rock-solid foundation that we can actually work against. And that's the thing where, you didn't stop and you were actually able to, and that's the thing that struck me most, you were able to sort of sacrifice freedom of the individual developer for the good of the species, if you want, right? Like, and can you talk about like how you made that transformation, explaining to a developer, I really hear you, and I'm sure it's enjoyable to write your own Terraform for RDS and staging, but that's not going to happen. Here's our standard. Like how on earth is it possible that you excelled at this and many organizations fail exactly at this step?
I mean, it's a good question. I wouldn't put it that existential, but yes, we can't serve all flavors of ice cream. I mean, that's a choice you have to make, and that choice goes with a lot of critique and a lot of times you have to say no. Every day you have to say no. But quite frankly, that's true for business. That's true for anything you do, right? We have 5,000 ideas how we can grow our business. We can't pursue all of them in parallel. It's just never going to work. We have limited execution power regardless of how big or resourceful you are. It's always finite, and you have to optimize for what you have. For us, the choice was simple. We try to think higher order. We try to think in customer experience. We try to think in employee experience. And, of course, the dimension of developer experience. And we basically just see, is this new flavor of technology or way of doing things, is that going to bring us anything or not to move this needle? If it doesn't, or people cannot argue how that would transform, then the answer is no. And it's painful. And, there are many cases where this one solution for this one team in this particular situation will be the best solution to solve this problem. And for me, that was difficult to say no to, and it keeps being difficult because I actually come from startup world where I advocated and I was really convinced that best tools for the job are the way to success. And it was much later when I started also going for different size of companies where I realized that there is no silver bullet there. This theory, I still believe in it, that it is the right way to execute for a particular scope to solve a particular problem, but it's not solving it for all. With our business, we're a 100-year-old company. We have to look forward. We have to make sure that anything in terms of efficiency we save, we pass it on to our customers. We have to make sure that the things that we maintain for all those countries, for all those processes, it's easy to automate, it's easy to manage because there is just so much out of it. And if we leave it to go out of proportion, then we lose on that side. We lose from complexity, we lose from versatility, if you like, from fragmentation. We've been there, we know what it means. We had so many technologies, right? We had 6 different message buses and a gazillion other things doing the same thing, aiming for the same goal. Just because a team would like this technology or that technology. And if you go up and you see what is it doing and how it's being used, it's literally, again, queuing. It's doing queuing in the same way, but we have to maintain many libraries. Those libraries come with CVEs, those libraries come with maintenance, with patching, with everything else. Nobody wants to do it, but of course there are always people who love to play with the new technology. They love to put their, to learn something new. And what we try to do is still leave some space for that. But when it comes to going prod, when it comes to what we maintain, we try to be really strict with, is this moving the needle or not, right?
Yeah, and that's so important, right? Variance comes at a cost, right? And
Exactly.
you need to be able to afford that cost. And the cost of variance is actually compounding.
It is compounding.
And that's a thing that you always have to have front and center. I'm so convinced that actually wherever possible, application design should follow the platform and not platform the application design, because otherwise you get nowhere. I want to quickly touch on how is your organization actually set up, the platform organization. You do a lot of stuff in-house. You've built your own portal, actually, right? Like your own front-end layer is built in-house. Your own orchestration layer is built in-house. You really own the full end-to-end cycle, which is very unique. I don't know many organizations where this is the case. Against those 800 developers, not against, like with those 800 developers, how is your platform team structured and what do they actually do?
So out of that, we have about 40 people in platform engineering. So it's not a massively big team. We don't think about one platform, right? And maybe to start from there, it's a bit nuanced at SIXT. We actually didn't start from the platform to build the applications. They kind of met somewhere in the middle. We agreed how we want to build software, and then we created an environment to support that in the best possible way, and those things shift. And that was the same case for web. We generate hundreds of thousands of web pages. It's for all the markets that we're present, so we had to build a stack that supports that, and again, automates it as much as possible, because otherwise we are done, right? We cannot scale with people there. Same for mobile. We built mobile native apps for iOS, for Android. Again, a lot of complexity there. We had to automate as much as possible, and for those spaces, both web and app, but also back office portals. At SIXT, we have hundreds of back office tools and applications for our employees as well. We invested heavily, for example, in design systems, so that we can bridge design with engineering and then platform under that. And all those layers are allowing us to simplify, are allowing us to automate. When it comes to organizational layout, 40 people, there is a team, 6, 7 of them, which is managing our whole, let's call it cloud infrastructure. That would include automating the 200 AWS accounts we have, our Kubernetes clusters, our Kafka clusters, IDPs, anything that is really foundational, that's in their room of expertise, and that's what they focus on. Then we have a team which is only focused on developer experience. These guys are taking care of scaling our build pipelines for web, for app, etc. Backend, of course.
They're also building the portal, that team? The DevX team is also building the portal?
It's a different team, but yeah, parts of it anyway. And
how large is that?
I'll get to that. So that one is, the DevX team is 6, 7 people. They are also looking a lot after builds. So the whole build is also automated for all the different languages that we support. They stop at observability and the interfaces for our engineers, which in our world is ChatOps or those deployment UIs. From that piece, they also own, of course, the deployment UIs and all the UIs for governance that we have in terms of what is the library adoption, or what is how do you configure your application in terms of governance and centralized way, how do you change configs, etc. All that stuff is centralized there. And then there is what we call, again, let me choose a better word for you guys to understand. Let's call it a orchestration team, if you like, or we call it platform engineering insights team. This team is, again, 6, 7 people. They're looking after our higher order application libraries. At SIXT, we don't stop at the infrastructure layer or the build pipelines or observability pipelines, which is, I guess, what we most think of when we speak platform engineering. We have also a much deeper penetration in our application stacks in terms of instrumentation, in terms of how we inject certain platform things in our templates, etc. And There is a team that's doing that, plus they're also building all our core services when it comes to service discovery or how service-to-service communication goes, or how we expose things to the internet or internally. So all of that is automated within that space. So this is, I would say, is like, let's call it the foundational platform engineering team, which is basically our backend and our back office platforms. And then we have ML Ops and data platform team within that. We have web platform team. We have mobile platform team. Those teams are stepping on top of that infrastructure layers, but also building higher order services in terms of design systems and maybe special flavors of the built-in deployment pipelines for web, for mobile, which are very different. Same goes for, obviously, ML Ops and data engineering, which are completely different worlds as well.
And if we look at, this is the thing that I find so interesting. You have this relationship 800 to 40, essentially, like more like of a SWAT team of very highly focused and, that are able to be as focused because you don't supply such a huge amount of variance, right? Like you're an Amazon shop, right? But you're very much the 80-20. We're going to support like a certain bunch of the services very well. And
exactly.
There are other things that if you want to do this, you can move to San Francisco and work in a startup, but that ain't happening here, and that makes you so efficient. Last question on this, on security, is the security team adjacent or also part of? Is security essentially baked into the platform team?
Security engineering is part of it.
Part of the platform team. Yeah.
Of course, we have also a couple of people who are more on the governance side, looking and taking care of receiving and automating all the alerts from different systems and acting on incidents, etc. But in terms of security engineering, building that stuff in, it's part of it.
And that's also so important. Like I would predict personally that in the next 5 years, pretty much everything, every non-dev function will become part of the platform team. And you will have specialized platform engineers, some that will deal with the infrastructure components, some will deal with reliability, some will deal with security, because you only get a sort of good, consistent platform if you're able to weave all of those things together and essentially have them report up to the same line. So I really believe that that's like a blueprint for many, many organizations that would make the whole operation much, much more consistent. We do not. Sorry.
Before we put the pin on this, just maybe one nuance to add so that you guys don't get the wrong impression. Especially when it comes to the heart of engineering, how you build applications and the frameworks used, etc. It's not like we have those 5-6 people for Java, for Golang, which are our main languages, let's say backend, just dictating down to the rest of the engineering teams how you should be building applications. And this is the framework and that's the it works. No, it's a bit different. Well, they're responsible for maintaining libraries, etc. They think of it like it's more collaborative, right? There is a guild which includes all sorts of staff and senior engineers from all our organization, and they iterate on that together. And there is a lot of PRs and a lot of improvements actually coming from that side as well. And actually, if you look at how this is being driven, while the platform team, for example, is the custodian of the whole thing and keeps iterating and making sure everything works and it's scalable as an organizational scale, a lot of the innovation and the directions are actually coming from the engineers who are in those product engineering teams and work with built applications every day, right? I think that's very important to understand. It's not some dictatorship setup where we are like, this is the only way and this is, the wiggle room you have and nothing else. It's way more collaborative than that.
Yeah, like I'm German, we have tendencies.
I know, but...
Yeah. Cool. That is fantastic. So one of the things that we had a phone call Sunday evening, and I call Boyan, and everyone says, man, I've been coding the whole weekend, trying out different agent systems, and what do you think about letter and memory management and da. And this was surprising because I know very few managers that have 800 engineers reporting into them that would spend their Sundays with coding agents. As we're now, looking at how do you get future-proof and decide, essentially take the decision that many of us have to take, how serious do I take AI, and what the hell do I need to do to essentially, prepare my platform organization for that world. Can you tell the story how you've tested blockchain first and what's different this time with AI?
Oh boy.
To combine two Gartner buzzwords that
I should
always
stop
work.
calling you on Sundays. in our world, right, technology, there's so much noise, and obviously new technologies, new ways of doing the same thing, they keep happening and reinventing themselves, and the noise and the buzz is loud, right? So sometimes that produces signals, and the trick is you've got to figure out a way to filter out the noise. And the way I personally do that is we try things. A few years ago, obviously, the whole Web 3.0 blockchain was a big thing. And you get all those companies suddenly turning up, calling you, blasting you on Twitter, blasting you on LinkedIn, etc. Blasting, of course, our teams. Hey, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And the way we do it is, okay, we put those technologies to a test. We try to understand what they do, how they do it, and if they fit into our world, and if they solve a problem. And then you go blockchain, we realize that it's a great technology. Distributed system-wise, I love it. It is fantastic. It does what it does for, at that point, very niche area. But in our world, it changes literally nothing. And I'm not even joking, right? You would have those people who come in boardrooms and from other companies and like, this is the next level experience. This blockchain thing, it cuts the middleman. It's an amazing thing, and you've got to get it into your company tomorrow. We have to start selling services over that because, you know, it's going to be big. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, and how do our customers use that, right? Why would they see it, choose to use it? What is your distribution channel? And the guy is like, but it's a great technology. But nobody gives a shit. So this is how some of those things, in terms of how we make choices there, does it solve a problem? What problem does it solve? And are people having that problem to begin with? Are they realizing they have it? Because if we don't have that problem, why would we invest? AI is different. We have been doing data science heavily for the last decade. And because again, scale, we need a lot of machine learning models to power our business, otherwise we are done. But there were always problems we couldn't solve. We couldn't solve them because of the technology that was available, maybe in some cases because we were not smart enough, whatever the case is. But we have a drawer full of projects and topics which we were stuck at. And in 2023, at least that's, I know obviously a lot of people, maybe you guys that are close, are following this trend for a long time. But for us, we had this aha moment in 2023 with ChatGPT, and this is when we started looking seriously at LLMs, and as soon as they were available to customers like us, we were like, let's go, because it attacks exactly the problem space where we felt before, and we knew that this time around we can scale those use cases and actually get them to prod. So this is, for example, how we knew that this is not just a buzz for us, it solves real problems. We have already quite a few things in production, solving real customer problems, solving real employee problems. So it's a real thing. And we put it to the test. As always, we unpack to understand what it is and how it works and what's going to cost us, because sometimes it solves a problem but doesn't scale business-wise. And in this case, it all checked. So we went all in, and we're on this journey now because there is a lot of capabilities to unlock.
Great. And obviously, that's I think, like the world is divided now into people that are still looking at what the hell is coming, the ones that think nothing is coming, and the ones that say, my God, we have to race. Looks like you're in the racing team. If you look at your platform team, how will that change? What are the new responsibilities that is now upon them to support the rest of the business? And you said one thing in a conversation, like, we have to take this away from the ML and data people, because in the end they don't know how to do infrastructure. Is that?
Maybe not in those words, but
again, I'm German.
Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm Bulgarian, so let's go in a different way about this one. So first of all, again, 2023, when we started with all those projects, we didn't start again with, hey, platform team, now you have to standardize it. Well, the whole industry is whack, right? No, we were like, okay, go, right? Just go. You want to do LangChain? Great. You want to do this other thing yourself? Also amazing. Everybody's doing Python, you want to do Go? Okay. Go. And let's see what comes out, right? I need to see things in production at this point of time. I need to test the technology and to get a sense of it. And we know that because so much money is going into this industry and everybody's crazy about it, things will converge very, very quickly. They will commoditize, and they have commoditized even faster than I thought. So it was only this year, or maybe late 2023 to 24 to be precise, where we had a bunch of things in production. We were like, okay, now we are starting to have too many flavors. Some things are becoming abundant, but still need to be maintained, and you start to see all the issues that we try to avoid with everything else we've been doing over this. So we had to start doing bets, and the way we approach this is, or I personally approach this more on the leadership side, because I'm an Excel guy anyway nowadays, is I've got to see the experience. I've got to see the experience end to end, how we are building those things, how does this thing scale, and either I do it myself in some Sundays when I have time, or I watch while people show me as they do, block by block until it goes to production, how this thing feels, so that we can do some bets. And as always in platform engineering, you're going to do some bets, and some are going to age well, and some aren't. And in this case, in the past couple of months, we did some bets, and this is where the platform engineering team comes in now to start standardizing. You now teased me on this MLOps thing. It's slightly different, at least in our world, but I see a lot of other companies doing it the same way. We had the data scientists lead the way because they were the most knowledgeable people in that space, and they were the ones who can get a lot of things to prod and solve problems. But because things commoditized very heavily and the layers of abstractions also for LLMs started going higher and higher and higher, what we saw in the last months, what I saw at least in the last months, is 90 to 95% of the work to get Gen AI-powered solutions out are having to do with event-driven systems, workflow engine management, and basically gazillion integrations, which is, well, at least where I come from, what we engineers do. What usually our data scientists at least used to do before is not doing that. They were solving much more complicated problems where maybe the Boyans of this world and many of us are not smart enough, right? And now what I saw happening, at least in our world, was we have all those smart people that are battling data integration pipelines and how to deploy this thing and how to update those 5 billion Python libraries. And that's nuts, right? So I was like, okay, we are going to change course in the sense of now this becomes an engineering problem, and the engineering teams take over. They don't sit on the API layers behind their systems. They take over and build all those agentic behaviors as part of their day-to-day. And that, by the way, has been working pretty well. And two, as we're now going to scale this thing, we need to start standardizing, because if I end up with 10 different frameworks, I have a problem. Because, again, when you deploy something, at least in our world, that's 100 countries, millions of customers. And if it becomes part of the main experience, when it's down or it doesn't scale, we have a massive issue, right? Because the brand, we're a premium mobility provider. People pay a lot of money to use our services. When we fail them once, they don't rent again. They never come back. So we need to make sure that what we're building is on the same level of quality as everything else. And platform and having standards is a way to get there. So that's more the story.
Okay, so to summarize, you're letting it swim and happen and meander, and people are starting to use, and then you're looking at what are the converging patterns, and you say, I'm going to bet on this. I'm going to streamline, standardize, take it to the platform, offer it as a service.
That's it.
And off we go. Okay, so we've learned this. We've learned that you want to work for a CTO like Boyan, who spends the Sunday testing stuff, so that they're informed and they know what they're talking about, which is obviously a dream in most cases.
Very opinionated guy. I'm not sure it's...
That is not the case. Florian, do we have time for questions? All right, we take 5 minutes of questions, because I think you're all having lunch, and now they're getting nervous because we don't have microphones. And here we go. So we'll have a little bit of delay, but let's take a couple questions.
Hi. Regarding the bets, when you're kind of constituting, are there like staff engineers, architects, is it platform engineer, who's making the bet? Is it coming from applications teams, or is it joint effort? Is it ADR, RFCs? What's the procedure there in sort of forming the bets? Because as I understand, platform teams kind of join the party later when it's time to delivery, perhaps certain parts are already within the bets. So who's doing that?
It really depends on the topic we're solving, but it's not really like a well-defined process. Usually it's done by senior engineers, but there is not such a big gap between platform engineering or any other engineering. Let's take AI. Our platform engineering teams are building AI agents and a bunch of agentic workflows for and providing it as a service for the rest of the organization. Our other product engineering and data science teams are building a lot of things, again, externally facing, internally facing, etc. So we get together and we exchange notes. We use 5 different frameworks, that's how things are looking, and then we start discussing what do we want to do there. And sometimes the team comes with a clear suggestion. There are those days. And sometimes we can't. People come and say, you know what, we have 3 different opinions here. And honestly, there are days where they would say, we would love to pursue the 3 of them. And then I have to step in and say, no. And it's hard. It's hard. Again, it's not like the obvious door number 1 and everything else is just shit. Right? It's not like that. It's really, at that point, you're sitting there, there's super strong arguments, and you don't know. Maybe I'm making the wrong decision, but in the end, as a leader at that point, I have to make a decision. I know we have finite resources. It is faster to put ourselves behind one thing, get to the end of it, stop, fail, and choose number 2 then, versus slowly, crawling behind 3 different topics and not knowing,
take notes.
Is it this, is it that we put not enough people and that's why we are failing, or maybe the guy who was pushing a bit left the company. There's so many things why something goes wrong when you are trying to paralyze all that and you have limited resources. So we have learned the hard way that it's just much faster to go behind one topic, or in some cases, depending on, again, resources, maybe 2 topics, and exhaust them versus trying to deal with that kind of complexity all the time.
One other question just here.
Hi, Boyan.
Hi.
Just going back to similar question Kaspar asked around, you move from this shop where you're serving all types of ice cream, you have a small selection. How did you communicate that to the engineers to say, oh, we're no longer serving chocolate, it's something else? Second to that, you probably had to move off certain technologies because you're moving out from there to standardize. How did you justify the cost of doing that to senior management?
Okay, so the first question I understood, correct me if I heard it wrong, was when a decision is made, how do we communicate that? Directly. So we are all, again, our engineering organization is crazy about Slack, so we're all in Slack, and a lot of the announcements go both email, Slack, etc. Whatever your channels are, I use the official channels. Again, we have architectural groups where decisions are made as well every day, and we just announce it to the organization. Decision has been made. Again, just you announcing something doesn't mean that's true. There are people who disagree and commit, and then there are people who just continue to disagree. That's always the case. And then you have to watch for the patterns, because maybe some people missed the message, didn't read the memo, or don't care about the memo. That's fair. It's a democratic enterprise. Not all in Germany is like the guys in Berlin. And then we talk again if we realize that people don't want to give up things. Because in the end of the day, let's put it like this. All of us, we are on the same team and we're going after the same mission. And our mission, again, is customer experience and employee experience, making our company better. And at some point, there is no, if this way is just not supported, you're not getting there, you're not moving the big thing, you have to abandon it, or you need help to course correct, right? And sometimes, I have to be a bit more direct. But let's put it this way, when we make a decision, everybody understands that we made that decision, and we show it also with actions. On the other side, when we are behind something, we go really behind something, right? We put all our power, all our resources, all the support that is needed, external, internal, it doesn't matter, to make this a success. And also the other point is, that's how I think most of our team appreciates, We also make mistakes. I make mistakes. And we go forward and we say, mistakes have been made. I've made a mistake, and I've made some horrible mistakes as well. I can tell you at lunch about how we decided to build a Java framework, right? That's a story. Mistakes have been made, right? But then you have to own those mistakes and be like, mistakes were made, and this is why we failed, and that's what we learned from that. That's why we're never going to do it again. But now it's, we go for the second best option. So that was question number one. Question number two was, I forgot it.
How you get backing from senior management.
Well, that's the good part, right? First of all, we have a very tech-savvy senior management, which makes all the difference in the world, and there I'm lucky. But second, in the end of the day, we went to platform engineering and standardization not because we liked the word of it. 2014, 15 wasn't a thing. We went there to save costs, to increase our velocity, and empower our engineers to do more with less. And we agreed with our senior management how we're going to measure that. Every step on the way, clear milestones. And as we were hitting those milestones, we build up trust. If you start failing on those milestones, and my job is very simple. Everything else would be a black box. The whole engineering world would be a black box, technology, etc. Certain outputs must be happening, and those outputs are measured in cost and what we get out for this cost. If this equation is good, then people tend to trust you and invest more. If you cannot articulate what something, how you can measure something, then there are problems, of course, and then things don't work out well. But we are lucky because in our industry, plenty of things can be measured. Outcomes for sure can be measured. And for sure what a company which, for example, is running, 11 message buses can do is measure what is the cost of that and how the world could look differently and how much would we have to invest to move from A to B. But once a decision is made at that point, then you have to execute. What I see often enough is, and I think we were discussing this also when we met for the first time, and there was this guy who just built a platform engineering team in his company, big company. And then he went and said, well, all our engineering teams across the board, they use in some 10 message buses. And the mission of our team is to bring a better one. So we brought the 11th. Interesting approach. But then, and then he went, the issue is that we thought you build it and they're going to come, but nobody came. They did a POC with 2 teams, and then I think the question to you was at that point, how do we go to the rest? And the issue with that approach is you don't have any senior management buy-in. You don't have a company strategy. Altogether, we are going and doing this. You just built the 11th message bus in your company. If that really solves your engineering problems or not is an even mythical story. But yeah, there is no way to go away from that. It's finished. It's done. Because the engineering teams, they're not just, they're not there to cause fragmentation and consume resources. They pursue clear business goals, each and every single team that probably you have. And all those things should have happened yesterday, so they're under pressure. They don't have time to be changing infrastructure. They don't have time to be experimenting with this or that, or hear who in the company had a better idea to do X, which in their world is probably this, and they know how to manage their own stuff. No, it just doesn't scale that way. It has to be the other way around. We are making a program out of this, or we go on this mission because we all together are going to win this, that, and that. And therefore, we are going to make time for this. We all are going to make time for this. It's bottom-up meets top-down at some point. There will be no excuses if it happens in 3 months, in 6 months, in 5 months. It's an organizational topic, but it's going to happen because this is the way, Mandalorian style. And I think this works. I think the other way, difficult.
All right, platform engineering is really about culture and leadership and all of this, but this conference is also about eating, and I'm already getting angry looks, and I think we'll call it a day for now, and then we'll have the next session in 45 minutes from now, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Thank you very much.